everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fire Up. I hope we're all fired up tonight, especially since we're coming to you at such a late hour. I do apologize, but hey, some of us are night owls, right, guys?
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I call this Get Silly Hour.
All right, that sounds kind of good. Sounds kind of fun. Okay, well, this title of the show is Home Court Advantage. If any of you know anything about the NBA playoffs that have been going on, except for one game last night, all of the second round so far has gone to the visiting team. What happened to home court advantage, guys? Pensman?
Anybody, I'll lead off. I don't care.
Go ahead.
So what's crazy is Minnesota had that 5-day layoff that no one wanted to mention before they played the Warriors. Mm-hmm. And then the Warriors somehow beat them without Steph Curry. And that game, their game 2, is actually going on right now. The Timberwolves got off to a 13-0 start. So I still think that the Timberwolves are the better teams in this Warriors thing, but we've never even seen those 2 20-point comebacks. And you're away. The Knicks were 0-4 against the Celtics.
Yay, go Knicks.
In the regular season, though, they were 0-4, and then here they are winning 2 games at Boston, man. It matters when you play the best basketball. And for whatever reason, the Pacers are playing great basketball. The Knicks, even though they had to come back down from 20, that'll probably cost them, I think, in the long run. But these NBA playoffs, for a guy that's not really into the NBA playoffs now that LeBron is gone, I have been supremely interested in what's happened so far in the NBA playoffs.
Well, to give everybody an idea, the Timberwolves are up on the Warriors 56-39 at half.
Yes.
But I will tell you, Anthony Edwards went to the locker room after an apparent ankle injury 18 minutes ago. So I don't know if he'll be back or not. But it seems like these playoffs have been ebbs and flows, and like one team will go up by 20 and then team will come back and they'll pull it off. Like they haven't been big. Most of them haven't been big points differentials. Like the last couple of games, they're winning by 1 point, but it's the visiting team that comes back. They've been down. I know I saw a little bit of the Pacers Cavs. You know, Indiana Pacers beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 120-119. That was a close game. Knicks beat the Celtics 91-90. I mean, some of the games have been a little bit more one-sided, but at least those two both. I mean, the Knicks the game before that was 108-105. So they're playing really close. But it's the team that's I don't know if it's the team that's got more heart, the team that's got more I don't even know what to say, why it's happening, because the Knicks are the lower seed. The Knicks are the ones that aren't expected to do as well, but yet they're the ones that are up. They're up 2-0 now.
Going back to New York too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think regarding the Knicks Celtics, I think, the fact that, in my opinion, the fact that the Celtics are shooting 25% from downtown and have lost these first 2 games by a combined 4 points, I think that says a lot more about the Celtics than it does about the Knicks. And I don't want to take anything away from what the Knicks have done. Jalen Brunson has gotten baskets late in the game when he needs them, and the Knicks are getting stops, especially Mikal Bridges at the end when they need them. They're finding ways to win games, and I think that's ultimately what the NBA playoffs are about. But with that being said, I just can't ignore the fact that the Celtics are shooting as poorly as they are, and they're barely losing these games. That's why I still think when it's all said and done, the Celtics will win this series. Because, I mean, they're the better team, and for the most part, they have played like the better team. They just haven't shot the ball up. That's what it comes down to.
Well, okay, and Samir, my question from what you just said then would be, can the Boston Celtics shoot the ball a little bit better? Because like you said, they're shooting, what, 25%. So even if they shot 26% these last few games, they would have won these games. And so can they do that? Can they go on that hot of a streak against the Knicks team who clearly has a chip on their shoulder? Do you think the Celtics could go on a 4, because they're going to have to go on a 4-1 run here? You're going to have to go on a 4-1 run. Can
they have
do
the
it?
talent to do it. Again,
I
they
agree.
They are a better team than the Knicks. They have the talent to go on a 4-1 run. I think the issue is, I mean, obviously Joe Mazzulla is a great coach, very good coach, championship coach. But I think when you shoot, like for them to put up those shooting numbers, I think at some point you've got to adjust.
Right.
Like,
Well, here, and let me interject this real quick to you too. Do you think some of that has something to do with them missing Kristaps Porzingis down low and having to play Al Horford?
I think that's definitely kind of a factor. And look,
how old is Al Horford? Anybody? Can anybody? Is he older than LeBron or younger? Because I feel like he's
like
older.
38.
No way. Is he really younger than LeBron?
He is.
He's 38 years old.
God, he looks like 56 compared to LeBron.
He looks like 56.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah,
but is that part of it, do you think, Smear?
I think that's part of it, but still, I mean, you've got two of your stars, Tatum and Brown, they're still capable of driving to the rim. They're still capable of, mid-range jumpers, going inside, maybe drawing more fouls, getting to the free throw line. The bottom line is, I think, Joe Mazzulla has to adjust because clearly what they're doing right now isn't working. The shots aren't falling. So you've got to try something else.
If, like you just said, if they can get down and make layups and make mid-range jumpers or draw fouls, why are you shooting 60 3-pointers in a game?
Exactly.
Why? That is one of the most ridiculous stats I've ever seen. Pensman.
That's crazy.
What if hockey put in a 2-point line and all of a sudden the hockey teams, though, they just are like, hey, forget about it. We can make 2 points instead of 1. So we'll just start jacking up. Like, make it make sense. Could you imagine that if it happened to hockey, Pensman?
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not a winning recipe necessarily. It's not.
But you guys are missing one piece of formula that everybody's doing. They're playing defense for a change.
That they are.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are missing. You guys are talking about shooting and shooting percentages, but you keep forgetting about the Boston Celtics going up 20. If any team's up by 20, that's a comfortable lead. But you got to think of full court press, half court press, playing man to man. I'm talking about peanut butter and jelly defense. You guys got to remember that defense wins championships, and all these teams that are in there, besides the Warriors and Wolves right now, according to what Candy said, is playing defense right now. So the Knicks are
my question. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Candy. I was about to ask a question too. Go ahead, Candy.
So my thought process was, the Celtics led by 16 points. They were outscored 23-6 in the final 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Boston has struggled from 3 in the first 2 games, shooting 4 of 26 in the fourth quarter, both games. So my question to you guys is, when you're struggling like that, do you change your game plan and say, okay, I need to get hot. I need to be able to shoot better. So in order to do that, maybe I need to not keep shooting the threes and driving more into the basket, maybe getting more free throw opportunities and getting hot that way. So then maybe because let's face it, if you're in the groove and if you're hot, it's your night, the buckets are coming easy. But if you're struggling, do you keep struggling and keep taking the shots from 3? Because if you're not rebounding those, you're shooting and one and done, and the other team goes. And if they get on a run, like obviously they have, That's why the Celtics have lost both of the games.
Well, that was going to be my question there exactly, though. I'll tie my answer and my question in together for Pensman here. My question was going to say, yeah, they played such really good defense that they got down by 20 points in both games and had to come back.
Right.
So was it really them putting on that full court pressure, that half court pressure, changing their game plan, as Candy just said here? And then I feel like this too. I don't watch much regular season basketball.
Same.
But them, once they get to the playoffs, it seems like the team that can rebound, get an offensive or a defensive rebound, get the ball out in transition and score quickly, that seems to be the bread and butter in the NBA. And that's what New York Knicks created, though, when they changed their defensive game plan. Like, we don't hear about teams coming back from 20 points down much often. Like, if ever. Like,
we don't, unless we don't turn in two games in a row is unheard of. They're the first team since 1998 to do this too,
especially on the road.
Yeah, and in the playoffs. And so, yeah, I just don't know. At this point, Boston, they need to get downhill, attack the basket, play more efficient basketball. But that was going to be kind of my question, all lumped up in one right there with Candy's question.
I didn't take a stat away from you, did I, Candy? You're usually the stat person, so I didn't want to take any stats away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I'm good. I mean, my thought process too is, NFL games, they play the first 2 quarters, they go in at halftime, and then they regroup, and then they come back out. And now I know the NBA, they have timeouts, especially in between the third and fourth quarters. Are the coaches not prepping them enough for that fourth quarter, for them to have the collapses that they are in the fourth quarter? Is that a coach's? Do we think that's coaching, or do we think that's on the players? Do we think they're getting tired, they've played too much, or is it a matter of coaches not having the right people out on the court?
I think New York's just hungry. They're just hungry. They haven't done anything since Patrick Ewing, so they want to prove to New York they're tired. I'm gonna use my team as illustration, but they're tired of the Yankees winning. They're tired of the Mets winning. They want to be part of the New York winning formula teams. And I love New York Yankees winning. And the Mets, not so much, but the New York Knicks want to be part of the winning New York teams. So
doesn't Boston want to be a dynasty?
They do, but the New York is hungry. They haven't experienced that since Patrick Ewing. So I think they're just playing. They're stepping up the D. The coaches are preparing them better than that. The Boston coach said that they're out rebounding us. Okay. They're just out playing Boston. That came from the Boston coach.
Yeah. I think you do have a point there, but it's just hard for me to say. And look, I don't want to take anything away from what the Knicks have done. Again, they've scored when they've made baskets when they've needed them. They've made stops when they've needed them. They've done enough to win. But it's just hard for me to say definitively that they are outplaying Boston when Boston is shooting the way they have, and they've lost games 1 and 2 by a combined 4 points. Like, if they make 2 more shots, game 1, 1 more shot, game 2, they're up 2-0 right now, and this is not even a conversation. Instead of, having this discussion, we're having, what do the Celtics need to do to close this series out as soon as possible?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the Knicks, I'm trying to close it in the next 2. No doubt about it. I do not want to go back to Boston.
Yeah. Nope. Well, what's been interesting is that so far they're undefeated on the road, but they're 1 and 2 at home so far. So let's see if that trend continues or if they can close this thing out.
And that one win is that closer against the Pistons on Bronson's 3-pointer.
Yeah. And isn't that Samir with the best segue ever? We all started talking about home court advantage, and here comes Samir ties it all in a nice little bow for you, Miss Candy. Oh my goodness.
I know, isn't that nice?
That's awesome.
So, Pensman, let's. There's another another sport that's in playoffs right now, and it's more of, I think, your up your cup of
Allie?
tea. Yeah, up your alley, cup of tea, however we want to put it. Let's talk about the NHL playoffs.
Well, I'm watching the Vegas Knights and the Oilers right now, so JD's no surprise there.
No, you
But
just always sound so depressed when you go to talk. You literally, it was like NHL playoffs, and you were like,
well, but no, the Capitals, they came back and they won. They won their games, so they even up the series. We'll see what happens on this game. It's 0-0 with 11.5 to go in their first period, but I'm happy with the NHL playoffs. Charles Barkley came on NBA tonight, whatever, on TNT halftime. He even made a bracket. So far, he has a perfect bracket. Charles Barkley, of all people.
Oh, before we go back into the hockey, did you guys all hear what Paul Pierce did and what he said about the Celtics and how he said that there is no way the Celtics would lose
He
games?
actually did it too.
And then he said, "I will walk to work barefoot and with a bathrobe robe." And mind you, him walking to work is 20 miles. He actually was walking today to work.
kudos to him. Kudos to
him. His
him.
word.
It's the man of his word.
Absolutely.
He's always said, if he said it, he'll do it.
I just thought that was interesting, and kudos to him for being a man of his word, following up with what he said.
Right. Well, the whole viral moment came from the Florida State fan last year that said if they lost to somebody or Georgia Tech or whoever it was, they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll eat a cup of," and they didn't do it. They just deleted their stuff, and don't put stuff like. Obviously, we knew you weren't going to eat that, but at least eat like a cup of chocolate pudding. At least do something and follow up on your bed. I don't care what you eat, just eat something.
Right.
Crow.
And the Vegas Knights just took the lead, by the way. Just as we got done talking about it.
Yes. I mean, I can tell you that the Florida Panthers are down 2-0 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They played yesterday. They do bring the series now to Florida. So they've played the first 2 games in Toronto. I don't know. Florida has played. If you're a big hockey fan, I would advise you to go check out our YouTube channel, because previously to this show, we had Sports Exchange, which was more exclusively about NHL. But and a former GM we have on there, Mike Santos, said Florida Panthers have played a lot of hockey the last 2 years because they made it to the Stanley Cup playoffs both years. So if you think about that, they start playing June, September, and they play all the way to June.
Yeah.
And they did that back-to-back years. So he doesn't know if they have enough gas in their tanks to keep this as competitive and keep going.
Well, preseason is September. The real season starts in October. That's why I'm saying September.
Right.
So,
but that's a long season.
It is.
And hockey is not a forgiving sport on your body.
I had an actual friend that I played hockey with when I was younger. He played with the local team down here. He called me up one day. He said, I have a chance to play for the Phoenix Coyotes. I said, cool, did you take it? He's like, no. I said, why didn't you take it? He said, because it's too much hockey. He said, we're traveling and practicing. And he said, NHL, you go town to town and practice, and then you're at hotel, practice. He said, it takes more toll. He said, we're not at the park anymore, buddy. So I'm just letting you know. So he listened to what he said. It takes a toll on your body.
Mm-hmm.
Samir, what do you think about that?
I mean, I don't really follow hockey that much. I don't really know much about it. I mean, I know a little bit about it, and we don't have a team in Atlanta, obviously. But if there's a team I probably follow, it's the Flyers. So I don't really know much about hockey, but
Bro.
Right on. Right. Hey, listen. Hey, me and Samir are in the same boat, and what we're not going to do is we're not going to make fun of him, Pinsman. You're going to stay out of this,
Okay. Okay.
and you're going to let the Southern Fried Gentleman. Hey, so Samir. To their point, though, we can talk generically about hockey. Would you agree that
The Flyers,
one?
though?
Yeah, but one thing about hockey, Samir, A, can you see the puck? And B, can you agree with me though that it is hot like football on ice?
I would say it's kind of like a mix of football and in a way baseball on ice. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. But as far as the contact level goes, right?
yeah,
They smash into the glass a lot. And then can you see the puck though when you watch a hockey game, Samir?
yeah.
I can't. So you're a step ahead of me. You might have more of a future in hockey than I do, brother.
So if we're going to talk hockey, though, and we're talking playoffs, I also have to talk about my AHL Milwaukee Admirals because they are going for the Calder Cup. Yes, JD. So I've got to do that because I didn't grow up with NHL. I grew up with AHL.
Mhm.
They're the feeders for the National Predators. So, but they are actually still in the playoffs. So let's hope that they can continue their run. But Pensman, any other thoughts about the NHL playoffs?
Just exciting. It's back and forth. The teams are surprising. Brian, since you're on here, I might as well talk about it since you've been blaring my ear off about it. The Dallas Stars are making an impressive run. So we'll see what happens with the Dallas Stars. We'll see if they can make a cup run since Brian picked them. I don't know what he picked from, but it's not like March Madness where you make a bracket, but wherever. But Brian picked them to win the Stanley Cup, but I still say the Capitals are the best team in the playoffs.
Okay. Pensman, there's been some we're going to switch to baseball. There's some
Good.
big news coming out of your town there. You want to talk about it?
Let me know what that is, because in case I didn't hear about it.
The Pirates fired the manager.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Oh, by the way, everybody go look at the short. I made a short about that. Yeah.
He completely forgot. He had no idea what you were talking about. And he's like, I made a short about this.
I follow two teams. That's why. So
I know.
Derek Shelton got fired today. He tried. He failed. Do I blame him? Not really. It's Derek Shelton is a low. He's really laid back. He's not in your face. He's like, all right, you get a pop up, and he's like, all right, whatever. You need somebody to be on these guys. You make an error, you got to get in your face to be like, all right, this is what you did wrong. That's what you need to do. Pirates need to do something. They finished the same record 2 years in a row. They haven't made the playoffs since 2002, 2003, I think it was. They lost to the San Francisco Giants in the wild card. But that's what Pittsburgh Steelers are going. They're going to go through this. The Penguins went through it. The Pirates, they went through it today. Well, so Pittsburgh's trying to rebuild. They're trying to go back to the winning formula. So that's what I got.
Anybody else want to comment about Derek Shelton getting let go after he's posted a 306 to 440 record since joining Pittsburgh prior to the 2020 campaign? The club has never won more than 76 games with him under but the 38 game mark is the earliest the Pirates fired a manager since Bill Watkins was canned after 22 games. You have to go all the way back to 1899. 1899. Oh, wow. But the bench coach now is Don Kelly, was named the interim skipper. So, any other thoughts, gentlemen?
Samir, do you have anything?
I don't know if it's necessarily his fault. Given that the team really outside of maybe Paul Skeens, O'Neal Cruz, and a couple other guys, I mean, isn't very good. And in large part of that is due to the ownership, which has for the longest time refused to build or invest in the team or retain any of their homegrown talent. Like I know they've had a lot of some homegrown players that they ended up getting rid of. They didn't want to pay them. So that's what
And
I
it
feel
all,
like the problem is over with the Pirates.
and it
They've
all comes down to Moneyball. That's
Right.
what it is. It all comes down to Moneyball.
And
They don't have the money to put the players on the field.
well, I mean, in some cases, like the owner has the money, they just don't want to spend it.
There you
It's kind
go.
of like we have a similar situation going on here with the Braves, where we have let some franchise cornerstones like Max Fried, Freddie Freeman, for example, we've let them leave in free agency, and we haven't won a playoff series since we won our last World Series in 2021. So it's like, the argument is maybe if you had done all you could to make sure Freddie Freeman didn't walk out the door. Or maybe if you had paid Max Fried, who is having a great year with the Yankees, where would the team be right now?
well, the Braves are right up my alley, Samir, and you tied all that in again in a nice little bow for me. The Pittsburgh Pirates. That was going to be my take. You can't say the owner doesn't have money if they're not spending money. All of these MLB franchises are worth the money. If they want to go in debt to sign these players, they can do it. They have the collateral. They can sign these players. They don't have to spend peanuts when they can go buy filet mignon.
Yeah, especially the Braves, considering how much money they make alone off of the battery. If you know what that is, it's the
Yep.
area around the state.
Right,
Like
it's
they make a ton of money off the battery year round. So
Well, not only that about the Braves, though, they've got all of these dudes already, all of their young core, Ozzy
locked up
Albies,
like
Acuna,
Ozzy, Ronald,
Matt Allison,
Riley,
Stromer, all
Money
of them.
Harris.
They're all
Like we've
on
got guys locked up. Why not build off of that?
off
Like,
of the
look, I
on the
mean, for
low.
example,
They
like
got it
Spencer
all on the low.
Strider is dealing with an injury. He's been dealing with injuries the past couple years. Why not spend that money to help your starting pitching? AJ Minter's gone. Joe Jimenez, he's out for the year. Like that would have been a great opportunity to bolster their bullpen. Report was the front office was in on Tanner Scott, and they thought they had him, but the thing is they didn't want to give him that extra year, and he ended up signing with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
He could have definitely helped our bullpen right now.
You could have kept naming Braves that we've lost though too. Mark Teixeira, Andrew Jones. I mean, Tom Glavine.
I feel like Andrew Jones was towards the end of his career when he left. He wasn't the same player.
Right. But still, even then though, we've lost all those other
Brian
players.
McCann.
Yeah, Brian McCann. I mean, the list goes on, and people are like, "Oh yeah, the Braves might sign Shohei Ohtani." I was like, they don't even pay their own players like that. There ain't no way they're paying Shohei to come to Atlanta. Yeah. But they do have a monopoly.
You just wonder what's going to happen when it's time for Acuna to get a new contract.
Oh, he'll be gone.
Yeah.
All the injuries and everything, he'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, as unfortunate as it is, I mean, I really hope they can find a way to pay him. Hopefully we have new ownership by then, but
hope in one hand, wish in the other. We'll see which one fills up faster, Samir. Are you a Braves fan?
Oh, yeah. I'm a fan of all the Atlanta teams.
I got you. Okay. Well, hey, yeah, we hadn't even really gotten to know Samir. I don't think he's introduced himself to the fans and who you're a fan
Samir,
of.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I am. So with that being, I'm Samir. A little late introduction. I am a freelance contributor for Sideline Sports. So I work with James, Joe, and the rest of the people there. I cover the NFL, NBA, MLB, but my preferred league or league of the most expertise, I would say, is the NFL. So I write articles mainly for Atlanta sports. So that's the Hawks, the Braves, and the Falcons. I wrote a pretty good article, I think, about the draft night trade up for James Pierce Jr. and how that indirectly, in a way, impacts the Kirk Cousins saga. So, plan on having that up soon.
Good.
Yep.
Well, I'll be looking forward to hearing it. As a matter of fact, hey, Pensman, you remember those rankings the other day?
Yeah.
Atlanta
know,
Falcons. Yeah, I ranked them number 1 in the NFC South as far as draft winners and losers.
Yeah.
I like
that's
what
the-
they did. I like
It's
what
the
they
best
did.
draft we've had in a while. Best draft we've had in a while. And I was like, just remember going into the draft, it was like, at this point, just get a defensive player, specifically a pass rusher, because look,
Not one, but 2.
Yeah, we got 2. Like,
Two.
I was like, just get
And
one.
I wanted both.
Oh yeah,
I'm a Panther fan, and I wanted both of them, and y'all got them.
Yeah, I did not think Jalen Walker would. I thought you guys are going to take Walker at 8. I was like, I thought you guys are going to. I mean, the McMillan is going to be a really good receiver, though. I think he's going to be a problem. I think good for Bryce Young. He finally has a true wide receiver 1.
The math doesn't math though. The Panthers just
Here we
traded
go.
up last year from the second round into the first round to take Xavier Legette.
I don't think he's a wide receiver 1, to be honest.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. You just did that last year, and then now, when everybody wants you to go defense, you just released Jadeveon Clowney today. By the way,
I saw it.
yeah.
I mean, hey, if we pick him up, I think that wouldn't be a bad pickup for us.
Man, you better stop.
Veteran edge rusher.
Hey, we've been on good terms, Samir. Don't start. No, I don't want no. He was just talking crap to y'all last year. No. Y'all, y'all cannot have my Gamecock and my Panther. Y'all cannot have him. Y'all can't have him. No, not happening.
JD.
I mean, that's kind of how I felt in 2023. Like 22, we had just drafted
No, he could come here
in the 5th round, and he had rushed for 1,000 yards, and then Jalen Carter is right there on the board. And like, man, if we got Jalen Carter, like, imagine, like, and he's right, like, he just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, and then he's there at 8. And I mean, as much as I like Bijan Robinson, obviously he's a top 5 back in the league, so that kind of helps,
Hey, they better hope.
But still, having a guy like Jalen Carter, especially now that with Grady gone, man.
Right. Well, my one fear though about the Falcons, sorry, Pens, but my one fear though would be about the Falcons. It wouldn't be Bijan. I'd be worried about that quarterback going into this year with Michael Penix Jr. We still got a lot to learn about that cat, in my opinion.
I mean, I feel good about him. My only concern about him is his accuracy, which I think could have been better with timing and more reps, because in practice, from the end of training camp to when he was named starter in week 16, he got, I think, no reps with the ones, because remember, Kirk was the starter up until that point. So he gotten little to no reps with the ones. So I think if they can get that down this offseason and build that chemistry, I think that'd be beneficial. And again, only other concern is his health, because he did have 4 season-ending injuries in college.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel good about him. He's shown that he can make big time throws when he needs to. He's not afraid of the big moment. We saw that against the Commanders, game on the line, 4th and goal. Made that throw to Kyle Pitts is still ridiculous. Like, I still don't know how he fit it in that tight hole like that. Like, when he made that throw, I thought we were going to win that game for sure. And then that ridiculous throw to Kadero Hodge down the sideline, he made the next week against the Panthers. So he's got the elite arm talent. He's not afraid to make the big throws. The only question I have about him is his accuracy, which I think is more of a timing and repetitions thing, and just his long-term health.
You gotta remember, Samir, that you said it, from training camp to week 16. Now that he has a full season, we'll see how he acts now. Yeah. You can't go by those couple of games and I'm sure his accuracy, the way he played against the Commanders, I'm sure he would be all right.
Yeah.
So I have to say something to Eddie. Eddie, Chicago produced a Pope before they produced a quarterback in Chicago that could throw for 4,000 yards. That's all. Sorry. I had to say that because
Cooked. Somebody just got cooked on Fire Up this evening.
I mean, Caleb, really? Oh, anyways, but yes. So, I have to ask you guys, how do you guys feel about the Rams taking minicamp to Hawaii? Did you guys see that? They're going to take it. They're teaming up with the Hawaii Tourism, and they're going to be doing their training camp from Monday, June 16th to Thursday, June 19th. They're going to Maui.
Not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. I mean, what do you really lose from it? I mean,
I think they just wanted to get everybody to show up.
From all the wildfires, from all that's going on out there, I don't blame them one bit. Just change scenery, see what happens. Introduce football to Hawaii people, so see what happens. I'm for it.
We gave you 3 positives already, Candy. Do you have a negative about it?
No. I'm just asking your opinion. The negative I would say would be for the people, the casual fans that live around LA that don't get to go to games, that if you take a mini camp like this away, are the fans losing out because they can't be there to see the practices? Because typically they're, you don't charge for practices and stuff like that. So most of your fans during the summer when school isn't in session, they'd be able to see those. And now if you're taking it to more, there's no way they're traveling, but it gives a different audience a chance to see NFL camp as well.
All depends on what kind of fan you are too. If you're a season ticket fan, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're a season ticket holder, it's or you go to games frequently, it's kind of like a whatever for you. But if you are again a fan that maybe doesn't get to go to games often or doesn't get to see the team often, I feel like that can kind of be a tough blow because that's kind of one of your best opportunities to see the team up front and close like that.
Right.
Exactly.
And have memories of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I agree, Samir. I've gotten robbed here as a Carolina Panther fan. I know it's well documented. They moved their training camp. They were supposed to go to Rock Hill in that new facility. They were at Wofford for a very long time, which is, 20 minutes down the road. And so I did say that it was a positive, I think, that they can try to get everybody to go to Maui and not have anybody be like, oh, yeah, who doesn't want to go to Maui? Right? Like, okay, all the football players will show up, thank goodness. But it was kind of a negative, too, that they have to go to Maui in order to get all the football players to show up. So I feel, some fans are going to feel robbed. Some fans will buy a ticket to Maui, and at the end of the day, the NFL will make money.
Okay,
That's
I'm going
what
to do
it comes down to.
Yep, of course. I'm going to do a quick station break, but when we come back on the flip side, I want your guys' opinions on the NFL taking the draft to Washington, D.C. after it goes to Pittsburgh. So with that being said, I'm going to do my station break. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by my husband, Scott, the Motor City, Madmouth Morganroth. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how the media industry has changed over that time. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content. Go check out our website. If you want to advertise, you can always call my husband, Scott, 954-304-4941. If you want to be on the show or if you have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And wherever you get your podcast, you can find us. So Okay, back to my question. How do we feel about the NFL draft going to Washington, D.C.? And from what I've heard, they're going to have it by the Washington Monument. They're going to have it out big, out in the open like that. What's our thoughts? Whoever wants to go first, go for it.
Samir, you want to start it?
Yeah, go. I will. I feel like it makes sense. And it was announced that the year was 2027, right, when it would be held in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it does make sense, and the following reasons are that you have a team that represents Washington D.C. that's on the rise. They've got a young superstar franchise quarterback, and they hopefully, or not hopefully, but they looks like they're going to be a threat in the NFC East maybe for years to come. And then having it in the nation's capital in a way makes sense, considering the fact that the reason they originally decided to move it out of New York City and change it on a year by year basis was due to the reason that, as the NFL mentioned, it basically outgrew Radio City Music Hall. And by what we've seen over the past few years, given how many people attend the draft, the NFL is right in that estimation. For example, just look at Green Bay. Look at the number of people they had, watching it at Lambeau Field and then watching it, right where the draft was. It outgrew Radio City Music Hall, and it does make sense to kind of move it to different places. And in this case, Washington, it makes sense. Detroit kind of fit that same bill last year. You had a young team who had struggled for the last 20, 25 years that was now on the come up. And Michigan had just won the national championship. Obviously, it was named a location before that, but it just made sense. And I feel like in this case, it makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree with what Samir said. Everybody had a chance, and everybody's going to get a chance the way that they're going to city. It's going to Pittsburgh next year, so this will be the first time they go to Pittsburgh, so we're all excited for that. So Detroit had it, Green Bay had it, Lambeau, that was right next to Lambeau, and it was really put on. If you guys didn't miss the draft, it was one of the best drafts in NFL history.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
it was probably one of the more entertaining ones in a while.
I think. Easily.
And I feel like Pittsburgh does make sense because by moving it on a year by year basis, you're going to have it in locations that otherwise wouldn't get to host a Super Bowl. Like you have Green Bay and Pittsburgh in back-to-back years. Those are two NFL blue bloods, as you would say. Those are the legacy teams, the ones with the Hall of Famers, the Super Bowls, the national following, the fan bases, large fan bases. They don't play any road games basically. And as a Steelers fan, you probably know that, but because those cities otherwise would not host a Super Bowl. So I guess it does help that you give them an alternative by letting them host the NFL draft.
JD, you're on mute.
I wasn't talking. What are you talking about?
Your lips were moving.
I had a phone call real quick. Yeah, I was on the phone. No, I'm kidding. No, I definitely talked on mute. Score that one in mind. 1-0. JD is losing as usual, ladies and gentlemen. But no, my thing about it is that will all of the cities get to host that NFL draft? I feel like there's going to be a few that are left out somewhere, or they're put way down the road, and then say it's the Carolina Panthers, like we're talking about in the chat. We've got someone who wants to name them the Mexico City Panthers, the Tijuana Panthers. They got somebody that agrees with Samir. Great to be in DC for the NFL draft, but I just feel like there's going to be teams that are left out.
I mean, if Cleveland, out of all places, got to host one, I don't think Charlotte will have any issues getting to host one.
Well, I mean, David Tepper's the owner. That would be the one downfall of that.
Well,
Nobody likes that guy.
I don't think people like Jimmy Haslam either.
So yeah, maybe the Saints won't get one. But yeah, I mean, as long as if all of the cities get them, I'm good with it. I like good competition. I'm good with it being moved around. But like you said, maybe that's why some of those teams are getting these drafts is because we all know the Super Bowl will never be played without a roof over its head ever again. If it were to snow in that city where the Super Bowl is to be played, and they got to will out all of this halftime show stuff and ruin the field, it's not going to happen. So the Super Bowl will never be played at an outdoor venue ever again, in my opinion.
Interesting takes. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people really questioned after Detroit had the NFL draft how Green Bay could even possibly compare. And it's not a matter of how many, but was it a good draft? Did and could they handle it? And they showed that they could. I mean, they figured over 600,000 people going to a city that only has a population of 107,000.
And there was people sitting in Lambeau Field too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes,
I like that. I like the Lambeau thing where it went around. They said that, say the Pittsburgh Steelers were on, the Steelers were on the clock. They had that around the stadium. That was cool.
So my question is now that we've seen the draft move from place to place, and we know the NFL has been expanding, do you ever think the draft will be held at an international location?
Oh yeah, just give it a couple more years. That's what I think.
It's only a matter of time.
Oh yeah, London, Brazil. Just give it time. We talked about this last. We talked about this last show that hockey's going international. We're talking about that, and I think the draft's going to go international as well. That I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that also, given how much of a push Roger Goodell's made.
Oh yeah,
to try and globalize the game.
I think it's going to be held in London. That's where I'm predicting that the first draft's going to be played because that's where the most NFL games will be played at, as of right now.
I would say London or Germany.
Right.
Well, I would say that we're thinking smaller. We need to think bigger as far as the time of this goes, because as of now, we still don't even have an international franchise. We still have not played an international Super Bowl. So I think that both of those things have to come into fruition first in order for them to have a draft overseas where all of the college football players are from America. Now, if there's ever a time where there's more college football players in Europe than there are here, maybe they do it before they have the Super Bowl and teams overseas. But I think we're 20 years away. 25 years away.
I was going to say 15 to 20.
Yeah, so maybe.
Okay.
My question is, going back to Washington, D.C., will the Commanders move out of FedEx Field and go to Washington, D.C. Stadium? That's why. That's why.
Last week,
they
unveiled a plan that by around 2030, they're going to move back to downtown D.C. and they're basically going to build a new RFK Stadium over the current one where they used to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but is the people actually going to go for that? Because there's a lot of people in Virginia that's protesting it, that they want to keep the Commanders there.
Well, the Commanders do currently play in Maryland, Landover.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That there's people that are complaining and protesting that they don't want them to move because of where their location is, and there's nothing there other besides that stadium.
I mean, I know they played in downtown DC for years before they moved to Landover. And I know there's been a push for a while, even years ago when Dan Snyder was still the owner, from fans to try and move the Commanders back to downtown DC. So it seems like, from what I've heard, and I have family that are Commanders fans, it seems like it's the popular thing to do. And let's be real, even this year, FedEx Field, until late in the season, wasn't that much of a home field advantage for the Commanders regarding the ratio between Commanders fans and opposing teams fans. Like, this is late in the season when they were playing the Eagles, and I was watching the game, and it had to be at least 40 to 45% Eagles fans at the game. So I feel like maybe moving downtown will help. I don't know the breakdown of the Commanders fan base completely, so maybe moving downtown will help with that. Maybe a majority of their fan base is stationed in downtown DC. But again, only time will tell.
That's true. That's true. Peter, my town is gonna have something to do with this. So just hold your thought there a little bit there.
And
So
apparently,
I have-
Chuck missed your joke too, because he mentioned the Vatican City about the Pope, and American would be a good one. And I was like, Candy had a good joke about that, brother.
Yep, I liked that one. That one's good. Any other topics any of you guys want to bring up before we go into my town?
No, but I just have breaking news that the Wolves are beating the Warriors 94-77 right now.
Okay.
So JD's wondering about that. Will the Warriors come back?
My first thought was how much time is left, because we've seen 20-point comebacks a lot here recently.
We're still in the third quarter.
Yeah, hey. Within 17.
Yeah, yep. I know.
Buddy Hield's played well. He's been my X factor, kind of. Draymond Green, he's going to get a technical and get thrown out at some point. And Anthony Edwards will talk a lot of smack.
If he's not back yet.
Yeah, that's my prediction for that series. That's the last comment I think we had, Candy, before we go to my town.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to my town. Samir, my town, and for all you audience, I devised this topic so that you can talk about either the town you currently live in or the town you grew up in. If you happen to, let's face it, I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm a Packers, Brewers, Bucks fan, but now I live in South Florida. But typically my town, I still relate all to Wisconsin sports more than I do down here. So that's why I said you can pick whichever. So we're going to start with JD. What's happening in your town?
Oh, my goodness. All right. So my town is more of a little bit of a rant, kind of.
That's fine.
But it does relate to my town. So did we all see that the Colorado fan is suing the NFL for emotional distress for how far Shedeur Sanders fell in the draft?
Yep.
Okay, and when I say suing him, I mean suing them for like $100 million. Like, just give me $1 million and I'll be good, okay? And so that brings me to my town. I would like to sue most of the teams that I am a fan of. Carolina Panthers for never winning a Super Bowl. South Carolina Gamecocks football team never winning a national championship. The baseball team, I get home from my son's baseball game. I turn it on to check on a little Gamecocks baseball, and they're playing Auburn. And the score is 17-1.
That's crazy.
What? Bro, what is happening with South Carolina baseball? And so I would like to sue them for
Here comes a short, everybody.
I would like to sue them for emotional distress. Carolina Panthers, I could sue you for emotional distress. Atlanta Braves, 2 World Series and 19 million division championships. I could sue you for emotional distress.
There you go. There you go, JD. There you go.
Oh my God. 24-2?
There you go.
That sounds like the worst football score I've ever seen in my life.
The Falcons-Giants wild card game years ago.
Golly.
That exact score, if that's what you're referring to.
Man, no, I mean, I don't even know. If you're good enough to get a safety on defense, by golly, you better be able to score a touchdown on offense. 24-2.
Oh, wise. Shady, you're wise on your sports choices.
Hey, it ain't like I woke up and just was like, you know what? I want to be a Braves fan. Oh, I want to be a Gamecock fan. Hey, my sister was smart. She swapped over to Clemson right before they won a couple of national championships. So she's all happy and go lucky. God, and so hey, Clemson though, their baseball team. Guess what? I tried to be a nice Gamecock fan. I predicted them to make it to the College World Series, and I truly believe that. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't tell you that. And sure enough, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games, y'all. They're
The
dropping
cursing
like
baby.
somebody tied a concrete block to the baseball team in Clemson, and it's sinking to the bottom of the river right now. And so I'm just suing everybody for emotional distress. And that is my hometown take this evening, y'all.
Okay. Pensman, what's happening in your town?
So, Southern Fried Gentleman, episode 58 is going to fry all of his teams. Just watch. But
Nobody is above getting cooked.
Okay. What's happened in my town is we're cleaning houses. We already talked about it. The Pirates are fired their coach. Penguins fired their coach. We're trying to get the Pittsburgh back to winning formula. Try to figure out the right pieces. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Don Kelly can take over, but we'll see. That's what's happened in my town. We got to get new coaches. Got to get new everything. So. We got to start winning. Got to get back in the playoffs. Pirates, they got to actually show up in games. So that's what's happening in my town.
Samir, what's happening in your town?
So recently, the Hawks are still conducting their search for their president of basketball operations. They fired general manager Landry Fields a couple weeks ago. They promoted Onsi Sala to that same position. And I know Tony Ressler has hired a search firm to lead that search for president of basketball operations. Elton Brand, he's currently with the Sixers, recently pulled out of the search. He was believed to be a front runner. Other people that apparently are being considered for the position include Monty McNair. He was the former GM of the Sacramento Kings. Calvin Booth, former GM of the Denver Nuggets, he was recently fired along with Mike Malone. And Danny Ferry, he was the general manager with the Hawks years ago. He played a big role in building our famous 60-win team. He hired Mike Budenholzer, drafted Dennis Schroeder, signed Paul Millsap, acquired guys like Kent Bazemore, Damari Carroll. So he had a role in building that team. However, he was let go due to some racially insensitive remarks he made about Luol Deng during a scouting report. He was a free agent at the time. So those are some candidates they're looking at. Seems like they're still conducting a search. I think we may have a update in the next few days or so, and wouldn't surprise me to see if we have a new president next week. The Braves I just saw came back, walked off the Cincinnati Reds 5-4. When I came on here, Iglesias had just given up a 2-run home run, so we were down 4-2. But I guess we tied it in Drake Baldwin, rookie catcher. I think he's going to be very good for us. He hit the walk-off single. Now at the Falcons, obviously, you all saw it. We made that big trade up on draft night for defensive end James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. In that process, we did trade our 2026 first-round pick. Now, I did write an article, as I mentioned earlier, about this and how it affects the decision on whether or not they keep Kirk Cousins. we are going to find out more whenever Aaron Rodgers decides to make his own decision on when he's going to sign with the Steelers, when he's going to retire. Who knows what he's going to do at this point? Who knows what's going through his head? But
my
I
next
mentioned
co-host
how
here.
by trading, huh?
He's my next co-host on Southern Fried Sports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
But I
already
mentioned
retired.
how by trading that first, we may not have much of a choice but to keep Kirk Cousins on our roster as the most expensive backup in NFL history. And the reasoning is because everyone knows there's a lot of pressure to win in Atlanta this year. And chances are, if they don't win this year, the coach and the general manager are probably going to get fired. So, worst case scenario, like the absolute worst case scenario, if something happens to Michael Penix during the season and you have Kirk on your roster, you have a quarterback who's shown that he is capable of running Zach Robinson's offense and being able to successfully run it. He threw for 500 yards against the Bucks, led the Falcons to a 6-3 start before he hurt his shoulder in that Week 10 game in New Orleans, and that's when everything just went downhill. Where, on the contrary, if you get rid of Kirk and the same scenario happens, worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, your season, chances are, goes down the drain because the only other quarterback we have on the roster right now is Easton Stick. And if Arthur Blank still decides to clean house, then the new regime won't even be able to use their first round pick. So I don't want him back on the roster next year. I feel like he'd be a distraction. We don't need that for Penix. But unfortunately, with that trade, we may not have much of a choice, and it might be what's best for the organization at this point, as unfortunate as it sounds. Because quite frankly, I don't want him back. Most Falcons fans feel this way. We feel like he's done enough damage, cost us a draft pick, wasn't really upfront about his injury status, and really cost us a chance to playoffs. So, but unfortunately, it might be what we have to do.
Wouldn't blame you.
Nope. So, on to my town. The Green Bay Packers have looked in a unique place for quarterback depth, since you were talking about quarterbacks. They picked up the top quarterback out of the Canadian college football circuit. Taylor Gilsma came to the Packers rookie minicamp last weekend and earned a contract. He was invited to the Bills, but Packers got him already. He played his college football at the University of Wilfrid Laurier. In his final season, he won Canada's equivalent of the Heisman Trophy with 4,252 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, to go with 7 rushing scores. He was then invited to the Senior Bowl, which doesn't happen very often that a Canadian player gets. He is an admired Canadian prospect. He was actually taken 18th overall in last week's CFL draft by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He likely would have gone higher if not for the known NFL interest. The Packers quarterback room behind Love also includes Malik Willis and Sean Clifford. So it will be interesting to see what the Packers end up doing and who is going to be, because if this guy is as good as I could see Sean going, but I could also see if they have enough faith in this guy that Malik Willis might be a little bit of trade bait.
Steelers.
I'm just saying, I mean,
Come on.
I mean, look, if you guys don't get Aaron Rodgers, we have a quarterback right here. I'm just saying.
No, we don't. No, we don't. I don't want Kirk Cousins. No, keep Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Chains.
He's old. He's
I've offered Pinsman numerous trades. He didn't want them.
You're horrible, GM.
Bro, I offered you the 8 pick.
Tell Samir the trade. Tell Samir the trade.
We had a deal worked out for the 8 pick and Minka Fitzpatrick, Pinsman. I think we're great GMs.
You would trade a top 10 pick for Minka Fitzpatrick?
Well, no, I mean there was draft picks attached.
Tell Samir the real trade.
Well, at first I wanted to trade back from 8 to 21, and Pensman wouldn't take it really. All I wanted was a second and maybe a fifth or something later on, and he could move up 13 spots, and he wouldn't take it. And then he tried to throw in Minka Fitzpatrick later on, and I was like, yeah, give me that and a draft pick, and I was like, I'll take it because I wanted the Panthers to get better on defense. But I did not want them to draft a wide receiver with the overall 8 overall pick. Like, ugh. Blech. Give me, golly, don't even. We're winding down the show, Samir. Don't take me down another rabbit hole.
With that,
actually, I blame Pensman. My bad, Samir. I blame Pensman.
There you go. There you go. With that being said, I'm gonna first thank everybody that's been in the chat room. But then I want everybody around the horn to tell everybody how they can support you and how they can find you, because that's what this is all about, all of us growing together. So, JD, how can people find you and how can they support you?
Well, thankfully, let me say this first. They could find me tonight on the South Florida Tribune. We made it through a whole episode. Samir, I don't know if you know this or not, but I've tried to join like the last 3 weeks, and every time I joined, we keep getting kicked out, and here we are. I finally made it through a show. So y'all can find me on South Florida Tribune on Thursday evenings with Candy and Pensman. You can find me on X at JDWyatt06, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Southern Fried Sports JD. Basically, I just comment and post a bunch of stuff that I'm a fan of: Braves, Gamecocks, golf, NASCAR. So if you're into any one of those things, feel free to give me a like, a follow, subscribe, and I can't wait to go follow Samir on X. So is Samir next, Candy? Can I throw it to him?
You
Samir,
can.
please,
You can.
I need to know where I can find you on X and YouTube and everything else so we can support you, brother.
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, I do not have a YouTube channel. I feel like
Okay.
that's something I should do. You can follow me on X, ATL_Samir 2401. That is my X. You can find me Thursday night on Fired Up, and hopefully I'm trying to work on something to get on the football show on Tuesday nights. So I'm working on.
We already follow each other, bro. Look at there.
Oh, there we go.
We're good. Everybody else do the same.
So I'm working on that right now, and you can find me right now on the South Florida Tribune. Those are where my articles are going to be published at the moment, because the Sideline Sports website is down at the moment. I know Joe mentioned that they're working on it, and hopefully it'll be back up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, once again, thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Pensman, how can people find you?
I'm going to answer this question. If he's healthy and if he's ready to go, sign him up. JD says no, but if he's ready to go. But I would say
that.
But I would say no because of what he did. But
you don't want Kirko Chains?
No.
But he'll take Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah. Anyway, you can find me on X at Pensman Sports.
I mean, he threw for 500 yards, 2-time Offensive Player of the Week.
I know.
For a flag football team, maybe.
Pittsburgh's got to figure out what they want to do. So we got to figure out what formula, what they're actually doing.
Yeah,
we just gave up.
You guys have one good wide receiver, a bunch of running backs.
Almost two, but we traded to George Pick. We traded George Pickens to Dallas.
Arthur Smith special. I sat through it for 3 years, so I know.
Okay. But you can find me on Twitch at Pensman Sports 07, and you can find me on Pensman Sports on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe. So that's where you can find me.
Okay. My last station break, of course. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by by my husband Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, who is the, how should I put this? I'm not going to say brains behind all of this, but he's the one that inspired all of us and started really the South Florida Tribune. It started out as a website. Then we started out doing podcasts. So wherever you find the podcast, you'll find us. And then we evolved to this and evolved to our YouTube channel. But he's the one that is the brains, gets all the different guests and stuff like that, and arranges all of that. And obviously he's a writer because he wrote the book. So he also writes for the South Florida Tribune. So if you go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, you'll find his writings. He just wrote a little piece about Miami Hurricanes, the pro day along with draft and their spring game. And so there's some videos that I shot in there. You'll see pictures that I've taken on the South Florida Tribune website. There is a plethora of great content, especially if you like South Florida, especially college sports. We get all the stuff from the Hurricanes, the Gators, the Seminoles, the Owls, and the Bulls. So all of them send us content. We get content from the Dolphins, the Jags, and the Lions. And then we do cover the Miami Marlins. So this past weekend we were in Miami and we were there Saturday night and Sunday night. And I can tell you, Saturday night, I've gone to many, many baseball games in my lifetime, but I don't know that I've ever seen a team come from behind to hit a walk-off grand slam home run in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs to win the game. That was pretty exciting, I have to say. That was pretty exciting. Sunday the Marlins didn't fare as well, but so if you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Again, if you want to advertise or sponsor any of our shows, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or if you have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. I think that's it. One last thing I want to say before we close out the show. To anybody that is a mother out there, we wish you a very happy Mother's Day. Whether you're a single mom, whether you're a dad doing mom duties, whatever it is, please take some time to enjoy your day because without mothers, none of us would be here.
Big facts. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. And Candy, my last thing I'll say is bang, bang, y'all. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.